movement.
Lower your property taxes. And we're going to get that done.
A report by the House Ways and Means Committee predicted many homeowners would see taxes increase regardless.
But this session, we are going to take a major step in reducing your property taxes because people need to be able to afford to live in their homes and operate their businesses without being taxed out of them. We will pass major property tax relief.
I studied the property tax plans for about 50 governments, cities, counties, and school districts, and I could hardly find any that aren't raising taxes.
As your lieutenant governor, I will pass legislation to cut property taxes again next session. This is a great day for homeowners and business owners who are sick and tired of seeing their property taxes go up 7, 8, 9, 10% or more every year. Those days are over.
Here's your stimulus check for $1,200, and here's your bill for $4,000 for your property tax.
This is fun.
Come join the campaign. Let's take Texas back. Thank you.
This is a yes or no question, so quickly we'll just go through each one of you. We'll start with you, Mr. Huffines. Yes or no, do you support a referendum on the ballot that says, quote, the state of Texas shall reassert its status as an independent nation?
Yes.
Mr. Harrison.
Yeah, I like that.
Mr. Prather.
Yes.
Mr. West.
Yes.
And in the end, across so many other issues, we believe in putting the question of Texas independence back in the hands of the people and let the people decide what the political future of Texas is.
Hey, good evening, everyone. It's time for our weekly coffee talk. Yeah, as you can tell, I am not in my office, which means I am on the road. And currently tonight, I am in Waco. And it has been one heck of a week since, I guess, the last time that we spoke, right? So last coffee talk, incredible. Yeah. Let me just, before I start my weekly decompress, let me go ahead and do a little housekeeping. How does that sound? For those of you that are joining us on YouTube, thank you very much. If you're watching us on the TNM's YouTube page, Super Chat is active. Any Super Chats you do there are donations, contributions that go straight to the TNM, right? Not to me, not to the campaign, but to the TNM. So feel free, TNM needs to raise money too. So super chat away. And of course, when I see those super chats, I'll be able to handle them. And by the way, I am running chat solo tonight. Kira is out sick. And so consequently, if, I may get to them, I may not, I may miss, I may not, who knows? We'll see what happens. If you're watching on my YouTube channel at Daniel Miller TX, Chat is active there as well. Be sure on both YouTube channels to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you'll get notified every time we go live or when we post new videos. And just thank you to everyone who has already subscribed to our YouTube channels. It is, they're growing, and we like that. We like to be able to do that. Hi, I see your chat. Hello, Brownsville. And of course, look, if you're watching on Facebook, if you're watching on any of the Facebook pages that this is broadcasting to, be sure to like, share, and comment. Like, share, and comment. That helps us defeat the algorithm. If it's in a group, right, you can like it, you can comment on it. That'll help you see more posts from the group. But all the groups that this is in are private groups, right? So you can't share out of them. So don't even bother, and please don't send hate mail, because that is a Zuckerberg thing. That is not a Daniel Miller thing. Not a lot I can do about that. And then, of course, we are on Rumble tonight. We are on Twitch. We are on Twitter. And, of course, any of those chats that are able to aggregate, they do it all right over here. Howdy, Beverly. Howdy, Cynthia. So I don't get to do this. This is like the old days for me, right? When I was running chat solo. So we'll go through all these things. But anyway, let me just go ahead and get started. It's Coffee Talk. I got my coffee. Thank you to Dan and Daphne for letting me stay at their casa and for all the great stuff they do, including making sure that I am adequately caffeinated for Coffee Talk and not in a hotel room, because I have done plenty of that here lately. All right. Let's get down to it. So for those of you just joining us for the first time, this is my weekly decompress, right? This is when I get on a live video and just kind of decompress, just talk about what's been going on. And started out in our Facebook, in the TNM's members only Facebook group, and now it's this. So now it's just sort of a free-form thing. I talk about whatever. Thank you, Tex, for saying my glasses look conservative and sensible. That's exactly what I was going for. But yeah, I'll talk about whatever's on my mind, talk about what's happened, what's happening. I'll take plenty of questions and take as many as I can, right? So your comments, your chat will help guide tonight. And, as long as I can keep up, that's always going to be the hard part, right? One of the reasons that Kara had to step in and start handling chat and production was because you guys chat a lot and we're rolling it. It was scrolling like a slot machine. Crazy, crazy times. Okay. Yeah. Hello to everyone. Hi, Carl. Man, there's been a lot. So let me just get down to it. So last week, after Coffee Talk, it was my first Coffee Talk back from being sick, and oddly enough, I started feeling a little rough still, but getting better. And then Kara got sick, so we had to do some stuff on the road. Wound up having to go Saturday to the Texas Republican Assembly. Okay, so they're a network of Republican assemblies throughout Texas, and they have an endorsement convention. Okay, so they basically send delegates from all their clubs to one spot, and then they nominate, and then they go through all the various people running for office, and then they vote on whether they should endorse or not endorse. And so we were invited to participate in the lieutenant governor race. It was only me and Zach Vance who showed up. So we gave our speeches, and as a matter of fact, I think those speeches are on the YouTube channel. But you can go see that opening speech, and it was quite fascinating to watch. Right, their endorsement process, and we'll, as we go through all this, these live streams, we're going to sort of lay bare some of the process that happens. Everybody thinks, okay, you do the things, you get a bunch of signs, and you have a primary, and then whatever happens. And there's a lot more to it than that. And there's so many organizations holding events, endorsing, having candidate forums, things of that nature. I mean, it's just wild. But anyway, so we actually have an article about this that dropped today on my website at DanielOMiller.com or TexasForMiller.com. But it was very interesting. The people there were super hospitable, and I could say with all honesty, if I had not been there, Dan Patrick would have walked away with that nomination, right? But we denied it to him. And given the reaction from the people in the room, even though they don't disclose individual vote totals, given the reaction in the room, I'm pretty confident that we walked out of that room with the majority of the delegates voting for us. But because we did not cross the 2/3 threshold, we didn't get the endorsement. But I mean, that is huge, right? It's absolutely huge. So lots of big things happening. So that was Saturday, and had to go back home Sunday, then back on the road. And Monday night we were in. It all starts to run together, folks. We were in Bastrop for a candidate forum there, and I got to tell you, there is nothing like the feeling of fastballing it in the car, right? Leaving Nederland, Texas, driving to Bastrop, trying to get there on time, coming in by the skin of your teeth, walking in, and then being told you have 1 minute to speak. I mean, I'm not kidding. I am not kidding. It's like, please tell us about your 25 years of service, your entire life history, your work history, and what you do as a lieutenant governor, and you have 1 minute, go. So absolutely wild. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by the question. This is like the old days. I get distracted by the questions. So anyway, did Bastrop, got to visit with Chad Prather there. He was the only candidate for governor who showed up. I was there for Lieutenant Governor. Tracy Bradford was there as well. And so we got a chance to get up and speak and visit and answer some questions and things of that nature. And got a good chance to visit afterwards. And then Tuesday night, yes, that was yesterday. So Tuesday, we headed over to, let me say this, man, I almost botched this. So while we were in Bastrop, Claver was in Ellis County, right? They had a crowd of 300 people there. Both places were packed, right? But Claver laid down a speech on behalf of the campaign down in Ellis County. Just was phenomenal response to the TEXIT issue, phenomenal response to all of our issues, right, about protecting the border, property tax, etc. So Claver did one heck of a job up there in Ellis County. So Claver, thank you very much. But Tuesday, which was yesterday, we bounced over to a candidate forum in Van Zant County, right? So over there in Canton. And got to visit with State Rep Brian Slayton and Senator Bob Hall. Ran into Chad there as well. And then Alan West he sent a surrogate. And we got up there, and it was pitched as a debate, but it was literally just Tracy and I getting up there just talking about the things that we talk about, right? So, it's wonderful to be running with, and I got to tell you, Tracy has been phenomenal. She's been, nobody is at each other's throats. There's no animosity. We just talk about the issues, and we may have little different takes on them, but it's just really good. And it's good to see that sort of camaraderie like we see in the governor's race. It's good to see it there in the lieutenant governor's race as well, because we're working for mostly the same things. And so no need to be jerky about it. Right. So anyway, that happened. And of course we announced that same day that Paul Roby, who is the field director for the TNM, is also stepping into the role of field director for our campaign. And many of you, if you have volunteered, have already been talking to him. So make sure you tell Paul congratulations and offer to help him any way that you can. But of course, last night was tinged. It was bittersweet because Monday, if you haven't seen the announcement, many of you may know our field director, Don Tier, who was field director prior to Paul. We got word that he had passed on Sunday. And for those of you who know me, know that this is, it's always hard for me to lose people that are an integral part of what we do in the TNM, that are steadfast and, dyed in the wool Texas Nationalist. And, I've known Don since 2012 when he came into the organization. And he was one of the, he was steadfast and had a never say quit attitude. And I am very sorry to see him go, because I don't like to lose people. I don't, for people like Don that have poured their heart and soul into seeing Texas free and independent, for them not to get to see it, I think diminishes us all, and it makes me angry, and I can't say it any other way. It makes me angry. So when and you guys heard this before, if you heard me after we heard that Roger Evans had passed, who was one of our steadfast members and volunteers, you heard me say this, is that when you have a goal like we have, right, a fixed point in time, a fixed goal, or at least part of our mission has a fixed goal, you want everybody who pours their heart and soul into this for years to see it. You want them to see the finish line. You want them to experience the benefits that that we all anticipate from what it is we're trying to accomplish. And when one of us doesn't make it to the finish line, it stings, and it makes all of the excuses, the people rationalizing, explaining away inactivity or apathy, or their lack of perseverance. It makes it almost intolerable. And some people may say that I shouldn't be that way, but I can't help it, because since the inception of the TNM in 2005, we've lost some key people. I am literally the last living founder of this organization. And since then, we had people that have come in the organization that didn't make it. Dave Mundy, and guys like Charlie Dorick and Lauren Savage, who were there at the very beginning. But then you had Dave Mundy, and then you had Roger Evans, and and now Don Tier, and others. And I don't want to lose any more people before they get to taste it. Now, I joke all the time. When we talk that, guys like us are doing this not for ourselves, but for future generations, because some of us are a little closer to our last sandwich than our first. But, the fact of the matter is, it does sting. So what I want to do tonight, as part of this, and we'll get back to this, is I want to share with you. We did these things called member spotlights, and I'll tell you, we did some trainings back in the day, many years ago, where we taught people how to tell their story, right? Because you'd be surprised how hard it is for people to just kind of tell their story in a concise way, and try to make people understand about Texas independence and why we're so passionate about it. So we took some training, and Don really, really took to it, and he created a training video. And subsequent to that, when we were working, when we had a booth at the 2018 Republican convention, he was working the booth. We shot a video. Will Casey and Ryan Thorson shot a video and packaged it up as a member spotlight. And so I'm going to play that for you tonight. So this is never going to explain to you who all Don is or was, but maybe for those of you who did not know him, it will give you a little insight into the kind of person that he is and why he was so passionate. Okay, well, sorry some of you couldn't hear the audio. It worked fine for me, and the video's on YouTube and whatever. But send all your complaints to will.casey@dtnm.org. There we go. But look, if you go to YouTube, you can go look, and you can actually look at Don's training that he did, teaching people how to tell their story. It's there. It was part of our TNM's Legislative Action Workshop, and so you'll want to check that out. But I want you guys to really keep his wife Sana in your thoughts and prayers. Sana works; she's on our national leadership team. She works on the member success team, and you know, it's what you would imagine. She knows Don. She knows where Don is now. She knows where Don is. But it doesn't take the sting out of it. And of course, you know, his extended family here in the TNM. I mean, we're going to have to sort of learn to adjust to life without Don's steadfast presence. And it's going to be a tough one. So just look, keep us all in your prayers. We would appreciate it. And do your dead level best to honor his memory. Do everything you can to ensure that we don't have other people that don't get to see Texas independence, right? This is one of the things that motivates me. It motivates me to work really hard. And I've been asked that a lot. It's like, how in the world could you do this for 25 years? It's because I want people to see it. My dad died in 1998, and he was there with me. You know, when I talk about August 24th, 1996, my dad was there with me. And he didn't get to see it. And it's one of the reasons that I appreciate this so much and want to make it happen for everyone who's super passionate about it, because I don't want there to be more people like my dad or Lauren Savage or Charlie Dorick or Dave Mundy or Roger Evans or Don Tier or any of the others. So there is that. But Sana, if you're watching tonight, know that we love you. We love Don, and Don will forever be a part of our victory. We will carry his spirit with us across the finish line as Texas becomes a free and independent nation. So that was Tuesday. As a matter of fact, I took my closing time during that Van Zandt County debate and dedicated it to Don and talked about Don, because I know it's unorthodox, but people need to understand that there are stakes, right? There are people who are out here pouring everything they can into making Texas independence a reality, and drag those who are against it, drag them along, kicking and screaming. But we're working on it. So anyway, so that led us to this morning, right? So I was up at 4 a.m., shook off the cobwebs, got in the car, rolled out, headed to Leander for an interview with Brandon Waltons and Texas Scorecard, the folks over there with Texas for Fiscal Responsibility, Michael Quinn Sullivan, but met with Brandon, Robert Montoya, and the rest of the team over there. Phenomenal guys, great facility, fantastic questions, and just really enjoyed my time there. They were super accommodating, and, you know, they found me coffee. So, you know, they had me at coffee. But anyway, so did that, then left Leander, came to Waco and did a candidate event tonight. They had a kind of a meet and greet situation going on here in Waco. I think it was put on jointly by the party and the McLennan County Republican Women. But it was a big group, large group of people in there. And I'm going to tell you, I saw something. I cannot believe this. You guys are going to love this. I have seen my first Greg Abbott surrogate. They exist. The fact that Greg Abbott is sending out surrogates to candidate events is a new development. Now, granted, we have seen a Dan Patrick surrogate. Actually, I didn't. Claver did. Claver went and spoke on behalf of our campaign at an event over in New Braunfels for Comal County. And, of course, he tore it up. I mean, Claver absolutely killed it. But Dan Patrick sent a surrogate. The surrogate introduced a video. They started playing the video, and it went over time. So, boom, they shut it off. So that was poorly executed, We tore it up. They did terribly. But still, Abbott surrogate. This was my first encounter. And who was it? Now, those of you who were here back in 2015 and 2016 will recognize this name. Those of you who were not will not. But it was none other than former member of the State Republican Executive Committee, and I don't know, maybe he still is, Mike McCloskey. Now, those of you from the old days will remember that name because when the TEXIT referendum question was being presented to the State Republican Executive Committee, he was one of the ones who vocally went after us and talked about how it was un-American and everything else. And he's the one that I sent the open letter to him and the whole SREC. We sent it to the email list and said, look, if you think we're, if you think we're un-American, I'm your huckleberry, right? Because I challenged him to a debate. And that guy clammed up, shut up, and he just withered away. He's like, okay, maybe I should just voted no and kept my opinions to myself. Well, that's exactly what should have happened. But anyway, it's always been one of those tenuous things, right? He was very tight with Tom Meckler, who was the chair at the time. Very, very sycophantic around Greg Abbott. I mean, it's almost like embarrassing. So anyway, he was there. He had his little howdy doody outfit on. First time I've ever seen the guy wear a cowboy hat. I'm pretty sure he rented it or he got it at Parties Plus. Pretty sure. But it was interesting because I got a chance to interact with him beforehand. And you would think that after all this time that he could be civil, but yet he was not. I mean, he tried to be, but he kind of tried to be snide. And then I had to be a little blunt with him moving back. But I'm going to tell you pretty much what he said. He's the line that Greg Abbott and the political establishment are pushing is that they got the legislative priorities done, at least half of them, that they got the Republican legislative priorities done. He was so happy. McCloskey was so happy. I got 2 bills through in a constitutional amendment. It's like, okay, what about gender modification of minors? What about actual constitutional carry, not licensed open carry? What about banning taxpayer-funded lobbying? What about those things? Well, he had nothing to say about that. So it was interesting then to hear him get up during the speech portion and talk about how Greg Abbott has secured the border. Guys, we can all go home. It's done. Mike McCloskey says that Greg Abbott says the border is secure. He is building the wall. It is done. I don't know how you could possibly be so delusional that you believe that, right? I don't understand. I don't understand the sort of mental gymnastics you have to go through to believe some kind of garbage like that. But anyway, that's what it was. So I got up to speak and I talked about the legislative priorities not being done and talked about property tax, talked about the border, right? And man, that guy, he was nowhere. I mean, he literally hung out by his table the rest of the night. As I circulated the room, that guy didn't leave a 6-foot radius because I think he at a fundamental level, he understands that as the surrogate, he's going to have to answer for Greg Abbott's lack of will when it comes to the issues of property tax and the border and the legislative priorities. Monument protection, where's that? That didn't happen. Closest we ever got to monument protection was the session before when the TNM jumped in and tried to push SB 1663 across the finish line against a bunch of friction, mind you. So anyway, that ended with left candidate event, met a lot of great people, got some signs handed out, some supports. By the way, if you want a sign, you got to come out to a campaign event. I know people are sending you an email saying, hey, how do I order a sign? Campaign event, or sign up to reserve one on the website, and then we will try to get one to you as quickly as possible, right? But your 100% surefire way to get a campaign sign is to attend a campaign event. We take signs to every campaign event, and we hand them out like candy. So, which is why we're short. Which, by the way, let me go ahead and make the pitch. we're being asked about signs more so than we have the budget to do so. So if you have an opportunity, please head over to the website, texansformiller.com, hit the donate button, help us stay in the fight, right? This stuff is expensive. Believe you me. So anyway, left the candidate event, came back here, had about 15 minutes to eat a taco. And then it was time for a Zoom meeting with Grassroots America, We the People. They do candidate vetting via Zoom. So they did their candidate vetting ahead of time. Then they do their candidate interviews. And I don't know if I'm going to get their endorsement. I would really appreciate their consideration and endorsement. But I thank them for the time, because the questions were very thoughtful. They were very policy driven. They gave plenty of opportunity to expound and drill down and do those things. And you look, it beats the heck out of the 1 to 3 minutes that you typically get at these candidate events. So to Joanne and the team over there, I can't thank you enough for the questions. They were great questions, very thought out. And I appreciated the tack, by the way, that I think it was Craig that he took on the TEXIT question, which was a lot of fun. And, gave me an opportunity to really explain my passion for Article 1, Section 2 of the Texas Constitution. So you got to love it. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. Let me talk about what's coming up tomorrow. Headed out to Corsicana. Got a candidate event out there in Navarro County. And if you're in the area and can make it out, would love to have you. I'm going to tell you, I am enjoying seeing TNM supporters, TEXIT supporters, coming out to the events. Look, when you come out to these events, don't be bashful. If you're a TNMer, you roll right up to me and be like, "Hey, I'm in. I'm a TNM. Come, I want to meet you." Right. And I know it looks like I'm super busy and I get covered up, but I want to shake your hand and thank you. So be sure to come on out. And so tomorrow night's Navarro County out there in Corsicana, home of the Collins Street Bakery, right? The fruit cake. Gotta love that. So we're going to have us a good time. And then there's Texas Federation of Republican Women on Saturday. And then, man, there's a Panhandle and West Texas trip coming up and some border stuff. But watch the events page, right? I'm not going to run through the whole calendar, but you get the picture. Lots of things going on. And one more thing before I start tearing off into these questions, okay? And reading through your comments. We are planning something, given what we're hearing, the feedback from our Take Texas Back candidates, right? If you go look at taketexasback.com, you're going to see a list of candidates who have signed the Texas First Pledge. And given the feedback that we're hearing from everyone, plus the personal experiences on the road, and how sort of frustrating it can be to be able to, travel all over Hell's Half Acre and not be able to address a lot of people, we are working on something right now. Nate Smith, executive director of the TNM, came out to Bastrop and worked the campaign event with us. And we spent a lot of time after the event was over with planning and discussing. Well, we spent a lot of time looking for any place that was still open that was serving food. So thank you to Chick-fil-A for being open for those 7 additional minutes. But anyway, we spent a lot of time talking about this, and we're about to do something pretty major that's going to give all of us a springboard to be able to discuss these issues in a meaningful way, with a substantial amount of time with as many voters as possible. So be looking for that. Obviously time is short, so the planning is very compressed, and we're trying to bring in some other partners to make this happen. But it's going to involve some virtual town hall action, plus some serious statewide voter contact. So, instead of talking to rooms of 30 to 100, 200, 300 people, it's going to give us the opportunity to talk to thousands at a time. And that's really what we have to do if we're going to win. So that being said, let's tear off into this. Okay, Laura, thank you so much for your support. Joe says, in 3 years, my taxes went from $3,000 a year to $10,000 a year. I'm guessing that's property tax. And that is the kind of thing that we're hearing everywhere. there is some apprehension when we talk about abolishing property tax. There's some apprehension. People are like, what are we going to replace it with? Well, the first thing you have to understand is if property tax is immoral, it needs to go, right? You don't reform or give relief to an immoral practice. You abolish it. You eliminate it. You get rid of it. And I would like to say this too. I was the first candidate in this race or any race that consistently referred to the property tax as immoral. And I know that some people are adopting that now, but understand that's okay. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. But that's the thing about it. And understand there are plans in place that replace this that do not involve a state income tax. So there's ways that this could be handled, but you have to at a minimum say it's an immoral practice. And as an immoral practice, it has to go away. What we replace it with is going to be up to us to determine. And there are, like I said, several plans on the table. Okay. Hello, Tex. Hello, Beverly. Joe says YouTube is playing games. Hey, Jip V. Hey, Cynthia. Hey, Polo Trejo. Thank you so much. Boom. Bad Brad says, need an update as if the TEXIT referendum could. No, the TEXIT referendum question will not be on the ballot March 1st. It will not be. There's an announcement coming from the TNM about that. It was one of the other things I talked to Nate about. It does not appear that any of those lawsuits are going to change or going to advance in a substantial amount of enough time that it will extend the filing window. So there's going to be a wrap up. We'll put a pin in that thing and we'll do the postmortem and we will name names. That's my condition of the wrap up is that we name names. Matt. Hey, Matt. He says, what's up, D? You know, the usual. And there's Tex's my comment about my glasses. Thank you. Okay, Rhonda, hello from Sugarland. Hello from Waco. Yeah, Rob is talking about the truck driver strike in Canada over COVID. The mandates. That's going to be worth watching. You know, I don't have enough time to dive off into that tonight, but definitely watch what's going on up there. I've heard some sort of inside scuttlebutt. Those truckers are probably about to break the back of the Canadian government over that mandate business. Randy says, has the legislature revoked Abbott's emergency powers yet? Well, the answer is no, because the legislature is not in session. And when they had an opportunity to revoke the emergency powers of the governor, instead of doing that, your lieutenant governor and other Abbott lackeys decided that they wanted to codify the things that Abbott did to essentially make them legal so that there would be no constitutional challenges or legal challenges the next time around that he wanted to use them. So instead of voting to curtail the executive authority of the governor, they doubled down and tried to codify it into law. So again, another reason that I'm running for lieutenant governor. Okay, Mr. Pepe. Okay, that's a funny name. He says, I have a question. Would a Republican red wave in 2022 halt Texas independence, or is this TEXIT thing now a necessity for the people of Texas? Look, it is to me, and I think it's not just to me, but the TEXIT trajectory is inevitable, right? There is an inevitable destination that the people of Texas have a defined date with independence, right? And so it's always been a matter of what does that time frame look like? We don't want it to be a Scotland time frame where we have 800 years before we get a vote and then we lose it. So it's always been a matter of timing for us. And I believe that I'm comfortable in saying that TEXIT is kind of that inevitability at this point. It will happen. The question now is how short that time frame is going to be, right? So we know that we need to vote. We know that we have to have a binding vote for it to happen. And we know to do that, we've got a clean House and legislature. So what that means is you have to vote for, if you want a TEXIT vote, you have to vote for pro-TEXIT candidates or candidates that support your right to vote on the issue, like any of Abbott's three main challengers or me in the lieutenant governor's race, or any of those folks that have taken the Texas First Pledge at taketexasback.com. You got to throw all your support there, because the way that you get a binding referendum is you make sure you have the elected officials in place that can make it happen. And that's why it's so exciting to see local officials and even judges signing on to the Texas First Pledge, because that means that they fundamentally respect your right to vote on the issue. So that being said, a Republican red wave, where is that at? And let's be honest, a Republican red wave is effectively meaningless if you're talking about a Republican red wave of people that were like Mitt Romney or John McCain, right? Or Liz Cheney, right? What difference does that make? That doesn't help us out at all, because those are the people that believe in centralizing power in Washington, D.C., and they're perfectly fine with some of the neo-Marxist doctrine that we find anathema. So I don't believe that it changes very much at all. It doesn't change our calculus in the least. Joe says, Mr. Miller, your take on the effects of Brexit. Well, good news. Funny you mentioned that. I had a call today while I was on the road with a good friend of mine who lives in Watford, there in the UK. And we actually talked about that. We talked about kind of the way where things are in the UK right now is anything that goes wrong, people are blaming it on either on COVID or Brexit, right? So the supply line shortages, the supply line problems, the supply chain problems we have here, they have supply chain problems too. But when they look at those supply chain problems, people blame it either on COVID or Brexit, right? Not on what it really is. So that's just kind of the way that people have simplified the process. But from that standpoint, the news on the Brexit front economically is all good, right? The economists dropped the projections out that said, all these post-Brexit doom and gloom scenarios related to the UK economy are not panning out. In fact, the UK economy post-Brexit is now on track to surpass the economies of Germany and France. So now UK's out of the EU. Now all of a sudden their economy is surging above those two countries, which are widely recognized as the backbone of the European Union economy. There was big prediction that all the financial services companies and corporate headquarters that were headquartered in the city there in London would pull up stakes and move to the EU. Absolutely not. In fact, a report was released that said that none of those companies have left. And in fact, more companies have relocated to the city in London. So, the news is all good. Now we have to remember that all the news that we have is really tinged and tainted by what's happening with COVID right now too. So when I told him about the 6% inflation or the supply chain issues that we had here, he was completely unaware, because they are not talking about any of that. And, it frightened him, because he said, we talked about the issue that, if the U.S. catches a cold, the rest of the world catches the flu, or Europe catches the flu, and whatever, however the saying goes, you know what I'm talking about. So, they were completely unaware of that. They've got their own issues they got to deal with over there. But so far as it stands, Brexit is turning out to be all the positive that the pro-Brexit side said that it was going to be. And all of the doom and gloom that was predicted by the Ramoners has turned out to be just what I said it is in the book. It's apocalypse porn. It's ridiculous. So yeah, Brexit's going well. Okay, let me just scroll through here. Beverly says, Daniel, loved your appearance and discussion on the podcast Unsafe Space this past week. I've seen you speak many times. This was solid dialogue. Everyone needs to see it. Yeah, that's good. Thank you for that. Look, I really enjoyed my time with those guys over there. Kerry was phenomenal. I mean, they just were great folks, and they were so patient, right? Because we had a lot of scheduling issues. They were so patient, and I think we were booked for an hour, and we spent, I think, almost 2. But they had, for those of you who don't know, there was an interview that I did on what Beverly was talking about. It's a podcast called Unsafe Space. And they actually have an Unsafe Space book club where they read a book and then they gather up and they discuss it and they record it, live stream it. And one of the books that they did several months back was the TEXIT book. That was before I even announced I was running for lieutenant governor. So they did the TEXIT book, and I got the link to it and was shocked. I was like, wow, this is great. we watched it. And, I commented, told them thank you. And they're like, hey, we'd like to have you on. So I'd love to be on. So we were able to make it work and really do some deep dives on the TEXIT issue, the TEXIT book, and everything else. And so that was a great one. As a matter of fact, there's another one on there. If you go to the website at danielomiller.com, right, you go look in the news, you're going to find the Unsafe Space interview. You're going to find the interview that I did with Matt over Crypto Heartbeat, which is turned out to be another good one. And then another one that we did related to health freedom and TEXIT and sort of a lot of those issues over with Freedom Matters Action Group. That one's over there as well. So go to the website, go to the news section. You will find them and feel free to watch them. And I'm going to warn you, they're long. All of them were scheduled for a short amount of time, and we went way over. But, I'm just appreciative that they give a platform to really talk about some complex issues. So it was really nice. Okay. Okay, so Bad Brad says this. He says, I was surprised yesterday. I contacted my Senate District 24 candidate, Lieutenant Colonel Raul Reyes, and asked him to sign the Texas First Pledge. They emailed me back saying they just signed it. Sure enough, Raul Reyes is one of the signatories. If you want to see a full list, head over to taketexasback.com. Okay. Okay. Alec wants to know, when will the T&M's flag be back in the store? I do not know the answer. I will have to find out, but they'll catch this on the replay and we'll check for you. Marshall says, is the Canton Forum on video? And the answer is yes. Daphne Armour, who is T&M Chief of Staff, is also working on our campaign. She actually shot it just at the very last second, fired up Facebook Live and recorded that whole section. So, Daphne, if you will, let's see, that question came in via Facebook. So if you want to post the link to that video or make it public, or we can download it and repost it somewhere, we'll be more than happy to do that. Okay. Stacy says Paul did a great Zoom meeting tonight. I have no doubt that Paul did a great Zoom meeting tonight. Paul is a rock star. And by the way, thank you all for the condolences about Don. Look, it's not just my loss. It's all of our losses. We're all a bit shattered over here about it. But we pick up and we move on, right? We honor his memory, and the best way to honor his memory and the work that he put in is to see it through to the end, see it through to completion. Yeah, thank you all, man. Your words are super kind. Okay, guys, I'm sorry. This is very much like the old days. Yes, Ross says, let's get this TEXIT done. I am with you, amigo. Man, you guys are very chatty tonight, looking for questions, so bear with me. Rhonda says, Huffines' response to TEXIT was not good. He says we should give him 2 years as governor to fix things. No, we're not going to fix the federal government. I don't want to pay federal income tax. Man, ain't that the truth? Yeah, and sorry about that audio, guys. I don't know what's going on with that video. Some people hear it, some people don't. Will Casey, if you are watching this, maybe you can fix that. Mr. Pepe says, what's your argument that says that the T&M is based off of Civil War nostalgia and you will create a Southern League? I don't have an argument for it because it's a ridiculous assertion, right? The only ones that bring up the Civil War are the opponents, right? They're the only ones who, and I say this all the time, the TEXIT opposers, right? The Ramoners are the ones that live in the past. They are the ones stuck in the 19th century. They forgot that after the Civil War, the world kept spinning. Things kept happening. History kept being written. So they're the ones that are stuck in the past. You will never hear us talk about reliving the glory days of the Civil War, or the Confederacy. We are Texas nationalists. We're not we're not Dixiecrats or whatever the crap it is, right? So, when people say that tells you that they are ignorant at a level that it's almost not worthwhile to debate them. And yes, Texas stands alone. We tell that all the time because that's how it works. Yeah, and I'm glad to see many of you in there handling this. So, okay, yeah, keep your eyes on the prize. Guys, I'm scrolling down through here. Roosevelt says, my storytelling manner cracks you up. I don't know what story I was telling that cracked you up, but I'm glad I can be entertaining at a minimum, right? How big did his nose grow when he said the border was secure? That was a comment before about McCloskey. I don't know. I mean, I sincerely think he believed it. Oh, and by the way, I see somebody. So Joe says the U.S. can have D.C. and Puerto Rico, and we will leave. I would not say that because I have been recently communicating with representatives from the Puerto Rican exit movement. They want Puerto Rico out. They don't want it to be a territory. They don't want it to be a state. They want it to be out. And it's been an enlightening conversation, right? They wrote a book called Brexit that talks about Puerto Rican independence. And so don't count Puerto Rico out. I think they may be out. They may be heading our direction too. Okay, so let's look here. Yeah, Rhonda said she made her own signs, and if you there are if you go to the campaign website and you register, right, you declare your support. We create an account for you on the site. You go to the Action Center, and we actually have downloads, right? So downloads for handouts, downloads for campaign sign templates, everything there. You can go do that. So go to TexansForMiller.com. Stephen wants, I'm guessing, Stephen, you want a sign. You never got one at the Grayson event. Yeah, and hey, by the way, thank you, guys. I don't know if you see Stephen. Stephen is in the chat on Facebook. Stephen moderated the Grayson County event where I had to dial in via Zoom because I still wasn't well enough to travel, and they were super accommodating. But Stephen did a phenomenal job with moderating, even with a guy on a screen. So thank you, Stephen. And we'll see to it that you get a sign. If Daphne sees that, she will probably get you connected up with the folks up there. I think we may have left some with Brian and Joy. Which, by the way, and I neglected to mention, we got the endorsement from Grayson County Conservatives, and you can see that on the website too. And so thank you to the team over there for having the faith and confidence. Those guys are doing a phenomenal job there in Grayson County, and we just love them so much. So thank you very much for the endorsement. Okay, yes. Rhonda suggests everyone contact your local candidates, tell them to sign the Take Texas Back pledge, the Texas First pledge. So be sure to do that. All right. I am scrolling through because I'm running out of time and I'm trying to get to some questions. Howdy, Donley County. It's good to see you, Eric. Okay. Someone is asking, will y'all be at the Trump rally in Conroe this Saturday? Look, there are going to be TNMers and Daniel Miller campaign volunteers that will be there because Donald Trump has endorsed Dan Patrick. He's also endorsed Greg Abbott, which yet again continues his track record of endorsing pretty crappy politicians. But here's the bottom line. We know that those endorsements are not that good. And we know that Dan Patrick is not the guy that we need right now as lieutenant governor. And we know that Greg Abbott's not the guy that we need as governor. So we have campaign volunteers, TNM volunteers that are descending on that event in Conroe with Daniel Miller campaign signs, TEXIT signs, literature, everything that they possibly can get their hands on to go out there and engage that crowd to let them know there are alternatives to the establishment politicians that are going to be touted there that night. And some people took exception that we were crashing the rally. We're not there to disrupt anything. We're there just to promote what we know to be the right thing. And, we're not going to be being ridiculous. This is not, we're not Antifa. We're people that are going to go there, and we have shirts and we have signs and things. I won't be there because Saturday I've got to be at that event in San Marcos. But we will have volunteers all over that thing. And I would suggest if you would like to help out, drop an email to paul@danielomiller.com. That's paul@danielomiller.com. And he'd be more than happy to have the hands on deck, Okay. I love it. Christina's making the pitch. By the way, Chris and Christina, Christina is the local coordinator in Tyler. Had dinner with her and Chris last night, and thank you guys so much. She's in the YouTube chat right now talking about, telling everybody, suggesting everybody make contributions. I mean, look, we're running on fumes, right? We've got to still do digital ads. We still got signs, still got large signs, still got things to do. So please make your contribution. Go to dmcdonate.com. That's dmcdonate.com. Make a campaign contribution. It will be much appreciated. Okay. Yeah. So Daphne says, and she wants to remind me that I've issued a call for debate to Dan Patrick, but he will not respond. So quite interesting. And he still hasn't responded. So what do? You keep pounding at him until he gets done. Maybe we'll spin up the phones on him. Is that what y'all want? Do y'all want to do a call-up campaign to Dan Patrick's office? That would be fun. Tyler wants to know, in an independent Texas, what is your stance on private for-profit prisons? I don't believe in them. I don't believe in for-profit prisons. When the state, the government incarcerates someone, it should be up to the government to do that, not to subcontract it out for profit. That's just me. Okay. Yes, and I keep seeing people say, share the Unsafe Space interview. Share them all. Look, that Freedom Matters Action Group interview was great, and the Crypto Heartbeat was fantastic too. But share them all. Look, go share any of our campaign videos. We definitely appreciate it. Hey, Frank, God bless you too, sir. Marshall wants to know, how do you feel about the Chinese land grab? I don't like it. It's one of the reasons that I've advocated time and time again that we do not allow, Texas should not allow foreign ownership, majority foreign ownership of any strategic asset or resource here in Texas, period. And that includes strategic land, that includes, anything related to the power grid. I mean, there's a lot, and it's detailed, and we don't have time to go through it tonight, but I've said it time and time again. We've got a situation here, and people will reject that, but that is true economic nationalism. You have to act in the best interest of your nation, and you have to do so in a manner that is consistent with freedom, but also for the survival of your nation. And if your nation state is the nation state of Texas, then you got to do everything you can do to preserve and protect that. That's why I talk about there should be no campaign contributions coming into Texas from sources outside of Texas, right? We don't need Texas elections skewed by contributions from California, New York, and places like that. But that is a problem, because people look at it and they want to complain that it's a campaign finance issue, but it's not. It's a sovereignty issue. Okay, let's go through here. I got time for maybe one or two more, depending on Okay, here's Valerie. Valerie is a candidate in House District 150 and signed, and Valerie McGilvery is running in House District 150 against the other Valerie Swanson, and she is one of our Texas First Pledge candidates. And Valerie, glad to have you on the team. And I know that you're doing absolutely phenomenal work there with your campaigning. Go out there and go win that race. And thank you for the kind words, by the way. Roosevelt Media News says, it's funny imagining Daniel representing as Antifa. Yeah. Although I do, now that you mention it, I do have a lot of black in my wardrobe. I don't know. I could never be Antifa, but their fashion sense is really terrible. Okay, so there we go. Well, Rachel says that Valerie Swanson's her friend. Well, she hasn't signed our pledge. That's fine. Okay, so yes, Matt, our housing market is getting screwed up. Dump Dan Patrick, right? That's what I keep seeing people say. Dump Dan Patrick. All right, folks, here is what is happening. It is time to wrap this bad boy up. It's been an hour, almost an hour. And I want to thank you for attending and tuning into my decompress session. Look at, when I say that when Karen and I are not together or not working, one of us is down, it's like losing my right arm. It's true. And I hope she gets to feeling better really soon. Matter of fact, as soon as I get off of here, I'm going to call her and check in and see how she's doing. But yeah, we made it through, right? We did this old school. I scrolled right on through, did all this like I did when we first started this thing out. And I want to thank you for your patience, right? I'm not at home, not in my office. I'm elsewhere. Thankful that I'm not having to drop money on a hotel room tonight. I get to be here in friendly environs with Dan and Daphne. And, we make it work. We get this thing done. So, thank you for indulging me tonight in discussing our mutual friend and our brother in Independence, Don Tier. We're going to plan some sort of virtual memorial for something else Nate and I talked about. We're going to do something special for Don because I think we all need a time to come together and remember and grieve a bit and enjoy the times, right? Because there's a lot of great stuff. It's not going to be sad. It will be sad, but it won't be a sad occasion. Okay. Thank you so much. And look, again, for allowing me week in and week out to come on here and decompress and just talk about what's on my mind, talk about what's been happening, what's going to happen. I know this, and I said this, I guess it was last week or week before. There has never been a moment in the time that I've done this that we have not advanced the cause somehow. Since the formation of the TNM in 2005, now you could say the time between 96 and 2005, there was a lot of setbacks, right? But from the moment that we set our mind to the creation of the TNM, there's not been a single moment where we have lost ground, right? And I can honestly say that for me, out of all the times that I've been in this is the most exciting time that we've ever had. The fact that running ourselves ragged out here with a viable shot at winning the constitutionally most powerful office in the land, the fact that we have all of the challengers to the sitting governor advocating for giving all of us a vote on Texas independence, this is historic. It's monumental. And the fact that news outlets aren't reporting on this ought to tell you where the bias is. So if they will not tell our story, to paraphrase what Don said in his training that I encourage you to go watch over on YouTube as part of the Legislative Action Workshop, if we won't tell our own story, then who will? And when they tell our story, what will they say? Well, this is why it's more important than ever that we tell our story, that we reach out to our friends, to our neighbors, to our coworkers, to anybody that we can talk to. People that may be perfect strangers, because we've learned that you can never cherry pick who may or may not be a supporter. And it's not even looking for supporters. It's about finding Texans and restoring hope. And that is, if I had to classify what it is that we do more than anything else, we restore hope, and not false hope, right? Not hollow promises, but real hope that we can live in freedom and independence, and that Texas can again be a nation among nations, that we can live out the words of Sam Houston when he said that Texas will again lift its head and stand among the nations, that we can pass down a Texas that we're proud of, that resembles the Texas that we inherited from its founders, right? We can pass that Texas down to future generations, that we can, for the first time in our lives, write our own ticket to create our own destiny. because we know beyond a shadow of a doubt that if we do not create our own destiny, it will be created for us. And so I leave you with the words that I already said just a moment ago, that I leave you with every week, that I will continue to leave you with every week and every time we're together until the job gets done. And it's the words of Sam Houston when he said that Texas will again lift its head and stand among the nations. I believe that that time is now. And the question is, will you stand with her? Good night, everyone.
Well, the people in power, whether red or blue, could not care less about Texas, me and you. They created this give me country that don't value hard work. For a Texan to survive, all we need are some seeds and dirt. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country, for it's long gone. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Save your country, for it's long gone. We believe in family and we value our community. Gladly lend a helping hand to a neighbor in need. And we don't believe that government should provide for all of society's needs. No, it's the pride of a Texan to give to others voluntarily. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Gotta save your country, for it's long gone. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Gotta save your country, for it's long gone. Tax dollars and they love our natural resources. They don't want to see us driving trucks, they'd rather see us riding horses. And now they want to ban our guns, you know, especially the ones that look scary. But may I remind you of the Gonzales Cannon and the Alamo heroes we buried. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save our country, for it's long gone. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save our country, for it's long gone. This last verse is straight from the Texas Constitution, Article 1, Section 1 and 2. Look it up. Texas is an independent state, yet presently we suffer. We no longer possess the right to locally self-govern. And now it's time as a people in which all political power is inherent. And in such manner we find expedient, we reform or abolish our government. I said, Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country, for it's long gone. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country.